welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives, thinkers, and doers. It is I, the mayor of Flow Boys.
Pneumonia as a consequence to this mysterious disease that they called GRID, presumed to be a virus that had not as of yet been identified. And while this person was in a hospital system, university system, getting advanced medical care, he murdered a nurse. And he got away with it. Nothing happened. No charges. He already had a life in prison without parole. The state involved, whatever it was, has assumed there was no sense in bringing another charge against him because he already had a life in prison without any chance of breathing free air again. Well, as it happened, the fellow came down with another complication from this mysterious infection that he had. And about 6 months later, after he had murdered the nurse, he was readmitted to the hospital with a case of pneumonia. Well, the house staff got together and they made sure that this individual did not leave the hospital until he was room temperature. Now, generally, when a human body is at room temperature, internal organs such as the heart, they're no longer working. And I'm thinking, oh my God, could this actually happen? Could house staff get together, murder somebody, deservedly so or otherwise, that's to be argued, and get away with it? And yeah, it could happen. And that was a nidus for the building block for the trilogy, and how this anti-hero, this medical student who became dehumanized from the brutality that he had seen, get to the point where he was able to orchestrate a conspiracy to murder a similar individual in this work of fiction. And in this work of fiction, this fellow was the criminal was similarly a serial killer. And there was a social movement to get him released, to get him freed. Hollywood and the like were trying to get the guy acquitted. And the medical student in question and four of his colleagues thought, no, we're not going to let this happen. This guy's preyed on society, and we're going to remove him as an element of risk. And they get together and they kill him while he's an inpatient. And at the end of the trilogy, a story has to have, in my opinion, redemption and salvation and a moral tone at the end. And at the end of the trilogy, this physician who orchestrated this event is towards the end of his career. And he realized that perhaps he did not have the right to be jury, judge, and executioner on this matter. And he decides to come clean. And at the end of the story, a colleague who's giving him a ride down to the police station, not knowing what's going on, said, well, Doc, what's going on? Are you going on vacation or going out of town? And the last lines in the book is that he's just going to have to go away for a while. And so that was the conclusion of the trilogy. So the folks that do embark on this, the DNR Trilogy, they'll find it a dark story, and they'll find it disturbing that there are elements that probably do exist that I refer to as the clinical justice system, not the criminal justice system. But under certain circumstances, when evil is about to run amok, perhaps medical personnel along the way might take justice in their own hands.
And I definitely appreciate the fact you answer those questions and really make you think when someone refuses. But let's take a step back out here. The bibliography, we're talking about that, very colorful, very interesting, but it almost seems a bit in the midst of a renaissance, right? Your collection's now being re-released as authors' copies. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, the first time I had this published was with a subsidiary of Simon Schuster. I won't mention their name, but much to my disappointment, the trilogy, DNR Trilogy, came out with colorized artwork. It was all black and white, and I spent a tremendous amount of money hiring professional artists to put artwork in front of each chapter to make the book something special. And they absolutely refused to go back and do color artwork. So once the first edition came out, they were promptly fired within a couple of months. I realized this is not what I envisioned. And then I went with another junior publishing company that sadly went out of business, called Bookwhip. And they published the book with appropriate color art between the beginning and between each chapter, the beginning of each chapter. And it was a beautiful production. But nonetheless, there were errors within the publication. There were run-on sentences, there were missing quotations, and things like that. And I pressed them for the better part of several months to correct these printing errors. And I found out that they went out of business. So my works of fiction have languished for the better part of a year and a half. And finally, I dusted myself off and said, I got to take matters in my own hands. And with the help of West Point Publications, they set it up where I could republish all of my works of fiction, and I'll be the sole owner of them. And so this is the third time it's been launched. And the other two have, were torpedoed before, the ship even left dry dock. And so hopefully this time we'll do it right and iron out all of the technicalities, and it'll be a perfect product. I insist that it's completely error-free, and it'll be something that a reader would be proud to own.
As of right now, some of the book trailers are available to be seen, but I know there must be some kind of cinematic aspirations. Do you have any idea in mind about what could be on the big screen with some of these characters and stories?
Well, I certainly hope so. I've certainly had a string of bad luck in collaborating with other folks regarding my works of fiction several years ago. And this is the same time that my co-author, Tom Cavaretta, passed away. I was contacted by an independent movie maker. His name was Scott Helen, and I met Scott before. He was an Arizona resident, lived here in Tucson, and he made small films, educational films and whatnot, and he wanted to take DNR to the next level and actually to make a feature film. Actually, his plan was to make a trilogy of movies, and so that it would run several full-length motion pictures, since it is indeed a trilogy. And lo and behold, Mr. Helen passed away, presumably also from COVID at the same time. And so that project never got off the ground. He had gone as far as doing site searches. He had gone to Tucson Medical Center to see if he could use one of their unused wings as a place to scene the in-hospital events that happened. And I was excited. I thought this was going to come to fruition, but once again, bad luck struck, and poor Mr. Helen unfortunately died untimely demise. He was, gosh, I think if memory serves correct, he was only in his late 30s, early 40s when he passed away. So hopefully somebody will find interest in it and would like to express this story in a celluloid form. I think that'd be exciting for folks that don't have the time or the inclination to read a long trilogy that's 1,500 pages. That's a rather daunting task, and I realized that when I wrote it.
But it was a thrill when you wrote it, of course.
Sure. It was cathartic for me. I did this to get things off of my chest and to come clean. So maybe as a confession almost. I mean, if it becomes a monetary success, that would be great. I personally really don't need a financial windfall, but I would certainly like to offer that to the widow and children of my co-author who passed away. If this comes to fruition, I'd like to be able to make them whole on the work that Tom did.
And here's hoping you do. Don, thanks so much for hanging with us today. Talk about more about your book, your approach to craft, and your story of getting these to market. And here's the fun part. If someone's listening right now and they want to contact you or learn more about your story, how do they go about doing that?
Well, I'd be happy to chat with folks. Let me give you my email, and you release that on your podcast. I don't mind talking to folks. In fact, just 4 or 5 days ago, somebody called me from Montana. He got a hold of me. Somehow got a hold of my number, and he said that he read the trilogy and found it a dark and disturbing story that he's going to have to mull over. And that's good. If that's how he felt after reading it, that was the objective. I don't want people to be comfortable reading a story where a murder takes place and the co-conspirators could possibly get away with it. That's unsettling. So my email is D as in dog, R as in Robert, D as in dog, WHILL at MSN.com. And if somebody's so inclined to send me an email, I'm happy to correspond with them.
So great to hear from that. This is New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, God bless you, sir. Thanks for interviewing.